Welcome to the True North Brigade. My name is Rudy de Rosa, and this is the first episode of a series on weight loss and body transformation. During this series, I'm going to share with you all the lessons learned on how I consistently lost, on average, 2 pounds and half an inch off my waist for 25 consecutive weeks for a total loss of 51 pounds of pure fat and 10 inches off my waist. In this introductory episode, I'm going to tell you about my background, share with you the origin and methodology of this transformation project, and I'm going to explain and show you full clips of both week 0 and week 1 so you'll be prepared to get the most out of all subsequent videos that I'll be posting in the coming weeks. Now, if you came to my channel to get right to the 25-week program for immediate insights and inspiration, I got you covered. In addition to this complete first episode, I've also posted week 0 through week 3 so that you can jump straight to the results of each, and I'll continue to do that in the forthcoming weeks. This video and others like it, however, you should find to be informative, insightful, and entertaining because I've included many stories, explanations, examples, and visuals to help you get fully immersed in your goal of transforming your body and maybe even transforming your entire life. Eventually, you'll have to watch this whole video so you can see how that's exactly what happened for me. Now, I know that makes for a lot of content in one video, so what I've done is provide you with detailed chapters in the description below to help you navigate your way through it instead of posting 10 different videos. Now, while you're down there, please hit the like and subscribe button so you'll be notified when new content is posted, and because it would really help me out and I would greatly appreciate it. And now let me tell you a bit about my background. Inspired by my father and grandfather, who both served in the U.S. military and in wars abroad, I'm a Mexican-American U.S. Army veteran who enlisted at the lowest rank possible of Private E1 before becoming a commissioned officer and ascending to the senior rank of Lieutenant Colonel 05. It was at that point in my career that I made the difficult decision to voluntarily retire early, staying committed to and following my True North path, hence the name of this channel, True North Brigade. Since retiring from the Army, I've served as a case manager at a shelter for homeless youth, as a caseworker at a reentry facility for adults on parole also experiencing homelessness, and I've served as a public high school teacher for our underserved communities here in Los Angeles. One of the things that has helped me be successful in all those positions of trust and responsibility was the first thing I accomplished after completing my military service, which was getting my credential as a certified personal trainer and behavior change specialist. That's because I've discovered both personally and professionally that no matter what our change goals are, the path to victory is the same in every case, whatever the case may be. In other words, regardless of whether or not we change, change never changes. Change as a process, its sequences and components, like change itself, are constant. For example, when I was a caseworker for adults transitioning from incarceration, after every contact and life coaching session that I had with my clients, I had to document and communicate to the California Department of Corrections what stage of change out of 5 my client was in during the time that we met. I also used this same change model while teaching classes on addiction and substance abuse prevention there at the reentry facility for this same population. Now, I was pleasantly surprised to learn that those stages of change were the same ones that I had just been trained on as a certified personal trainer for helping my clients achieve their health and fitness change goals in that completely different field and environment. Now, one thing you'll quickly learn about me after watching my videos and reading my books is that if I say something, I like to be able to back it up with examples and proof, such as details, photos, videos, witnesses, etc. Or, as my son likes to call them, the receipts. For example, here's a receipt for when he ate a huge scorpion in Cambodia. Yum. And here's another receipt for when he ate a little scorpion in China. Tasty. I don't know, the kid just likes scorpions. Maybe it's true what they say. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, because after eating all those scorpions, he got himself into the USC School of Cinematic Arts, which has a 3% acceptance rate. So, if you're looking for the secret to make those tough cuts, maybe you need to add to your college resume, eats exotic, poisonous predators from around the world, I don't know, or something. The jury is still always out on that topic. Nonetheless, you'll know what I mean when I use the term receipts in this context. So, let's talk about receipts with respect to the stages of change. Here in this photo, you see them written down at the center of this whiteboard that I was using to take notes on during an addiction and substance abuse prevention class. Now, this is not for briefing purposes. I know it's partially erased and it's messy. The point here is that this is the first of several examples, i.e. the receipts, to help convey that the stages of change are the same no matter the context and application or environment in which they're used. Now, we're going to go over them in detail, But quickly, I'm going to go over 1 through 5 just so that you'll know what they are, as I may refer to them until we get to that section. So stage 1 is pre-contemplation, stage 2 is contemplation, stage 3 is preparation and planning, stage 4 is action, and stage 5 is maintenance. And again, we're going to get into that soon. But before leaving this topic of addiction, I do want to point out that many of our weight control issues can be examined or at least contemplated through that lens. Some of us use overeating and overdrinking as just another unhealthy coping mechanism in lieu of addressing and resolving the root causes of our problems, such as our struggles with our weight. Now, we're going to talk more about this topic when I discuss with you my weight gain journey in addition to and before my weight loss journey, because both are essential to transformation, both the weight gain and the weight loss journey, so that you can understand how you got to where you are, so that you can reverse engineer that process and get yourself out of that situation. But again, more to come when we get to that topic soon. What I want to talk about is another example of how the 5 stages of change are constant no matter the environment and application. So let's talk about their use with my other clients who were not on parole, who were much younger and still had their whole lives ahead of them. Now, the first thing you'll notice about this receipt is that it's blurry, and that's on purpose. That's to protect the privacy of my former client. But what you can still make out is that the process that we undertook to get this person started on their transformation journey is the same process and even the same format that you see appear in my weekly video week after week, which is simply the process of identifying on one side where we're at and on the other where we want to be, and then creating a plan and a path to close the gap between those 2 points. Now, in this example, on the left in red, we recorded where that person was at, based on their good, honest self-assessment and the work that they put in to get that. So they had things written down like unemployed, homeless, not talking to family, unhealthy, surrounded by bad and negative influences, etc. And on the other, they had things like get a job, go back to school, start talking to my family again, get healthy, and other goals that were important to them at the time. And so then you see there at the bottom that we created a path to close the gap between those 2 points, identifying obstacles and opportunities, and then smartly negotiating both as we move from one side to the other. And again, we'll continue to demonstrate that and these principles week after week until they become second nature and can be applied to any change goal that you have in your life. Now, in order to get both sides of the board filled out, it takes courage and honesty. So it takes a good hard look in the mirror, even if you don't like who or what you see looking back at you. You're going to have to step on a scale, even if there's no more denying how much weight you may have gained since the last time you stepped on a scale, etc. In order to do a successful transformation process, you've got to get a good honest assessment of where you're at, and then do some deep reflection and contemplation to decide on where you want to be, or better yet, where you ought to be. Okay, one more receipt and then we'll jump into my own personal story. So when I was a high school teacher, I taught JROTC. In that program, it was my responsibility to help over 150 students each semester work on a wide range of goals, from improving their grades to learning how to manage stress, make decisions, and solve problems better and more constructively, to, of course, getting in shape. Now, central to these key tasks and these life skills and all the other curriculum that they were responsible for learning, central to all of it was the stages of change, because it was a culture shock, learning how to march, how to wear uniform, how to public speak, and really just experience a lot of rapid growth in a short period of time. So it was important to start teaching them the fundamentals of change in a systematic way that can be emulated and practiced and applied to, once again, a wide range of different applications, both relating to and outside of fitness. So here's a receipt for that, and then we'll move on to my own journey. Here's the study guide that I published for my students, where you see right in the middle of all those important life skills that I talked about is the 5 stages of change, which I felt was vital and central to everything else that they were expected to accomplish. After coaching and mentoring people across so many different backgrounds, I started to take a look back at my own change journey and realize that all of my transformation accomplishments followed the same formula and process, and of course the same 5 stages. I went from being a homeless teenager, a juvenile delinquent, a high school dropout, and a teen parent, to being a successful family man, a homeowner, a college graduate, associates, bachelor's, and master's, an accomplished professional, an author, and a world traveler who's visited 40 countries across 6 continents in a body that I'm proud of. You know, transforming my body, in fact, was my first major accomplishment on the road to transforming my entire life. Here's a photo of me at 16 years old, and Decades later is a photo of me right before I retired from the Army, maintaining and even taking my goals to the next level that many decades later. And you want to talk good before and after stories? That photo is from volume 1 of my book series, from chapter 3 specifically, titled We Were Cholos Once and Young. And yes, that is a parody and a salute to the great book We Were Soldiers Once and Young. It's written by two great authors who both survived the perils of combat and came home to tell the tale. Now, in that chapter, I tell the true story of how I survived over a year under the green light, which was a notorious punishment and basically a mass death sentence passed upon the neighborhood I lived in during the notorious 1990s gang violence for anybody who was involved in gangs or closely affiliated who got sucked into this whole vortex of violence and death and crime. And using the 5 stages of change, I talk about how I was able to avoid getting swept up with all my peers who were getting jumped into the gang and having to kill or be killed basically for almost a year. And using the 5 stages of change, I organized that information and experience to talk about that transformation, just to illustrate how no matter how dire your circumstances are, there's always a path to get out of that situation and get to where you want and ought to be by just taking a series of small steps, moving closer to your objective, overcoming obstacles and barriers along the way, and taking advantage of opportunities that you create and also search for, going from where you are to where you want to be. Building my body back then was all about building readiness. Readiness for anything that can come my way, including life or death situations. And it gave me the confidence to know that transformation in my life was possible. And so when I was ready for change, I was absolutely able to take action on that and achieve it in some of the most dramatic ways possible. And that body that I started building decades ago would serve as a strong and healthy vessel to take me all over the world, where I'd be highly capable and ready for whatever came my way, from my combat deployment in Afghanistan to being in Europe, where, for example, my daughter left her phone on the back of a bus that I had to chase down for miles, intercepting it in the center of town to recover it and bring it back. Or other fun and interesting experiences like when I was in India and groups of guys would just want to come up and take photos with me as if I was some kind of celebrity because I had just a little bit of muscle mass on me. And I do have a receipt for that, by the way. And also in India, where I would just be walking past an MMA gym, for example, going in and say hello, and everybody would want to roll with me to see if they could take on a guy my size. And I will admit that I was bigger than all of the guys in the gym, including the instructors. And so when I took on the challenge of rolling with whoever wanted to go on the mat, the way that we neutralized my size advantage was to have me roll back to back without taking a break while the other guys were resting before another guy jumped in. And you know, if my cardio was not straight, those guys could have killed me. But you know, just being ready, being in shape, allowed me to make new friends, to have great experiences there in India, for example, to recover that phone in Spain, to be confident during my combat deployment, and just to answer the mail wherever I go around the world. And these are just a few examples of how being healthy, fit, confident, and capable has helped me get so much more out of life, especially on my travels. A great gift you can give yourself is always being ready for a workout that builds teamwork, esprit de corps, and relationships with interesting people that you meet from all over the world. And if you think that's not a real thing, guess what I've got for you? The receipts. Check it out. bottom line is that you only get one vessel in which to experience everything in your entire life, so you ought to take really good care of it. Or, as a great philosopher once said, it is a shame for a man to grow old without seeing the beauty and strength of which his body is capable. That quote was by the great Socrates, which also happens to be the name of my cat, who is a big jerk. But his name is pronounced Socrates, and if you know why, you get major cool points with me. You don't want to meet him, he's a jerk. He's got that attitude of you come to me, I don't come to you. Kind of like the real Socrates. Everybody was always vying to be next to him just to get that wisdom. And in fact, here's a picture of me going to Athens, Greece to visit the place of his incarceration, famous apology, and ultimate death. While I was there, that quote was ringing in my head literally among many others. Hopefully those two young men in the thought bubble that he was talking to took his sage advice. Now, speaking of taking sage advice, you might be asking yourself, if this guy was in the Army and a paratrooper and a fitness enthusiast, aka career gym rat, and yes, I have a receipt for that. So I have 315 pounds loaded up on the flat bench. Last time I did this for record, I only did 2 reps. Let's see how my transformation program has done with respect to maximal strength and endurance. Go. That's 10 reps, 315. I had a few more in me, but I don't have a spotter right now, so 10's gonna have to do. Question is, how did he get so overweight that he needed to do a body transformation program in the first place? And that is a great question, and it's also a great time to briefly cover my weight gain journey. Now, there's only 2 times in my career and adult life that my weight got out of control. The first time was after my combat deployment, where my fitness and health regimen consisted of lifting heavy every day and eating multiple MREs and washing them down with protein powder. Now, MREs can have anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 calories in them and 30 grams of protein, so 2 or 3 of those, and if we were lucky, the DFAC was cooking that night, and if mail was moving, we always had our protein powder, and so a lot of us were just packing on as much mass as we could, and our plan was to get home, and once we had access to the gym and good food again, was just to trim it all down and pull off the whole dream deployment body transformation program of our own. Unfortunately, when I got back home, I was working around the clock to basically transition up to 400 to 500 people who were coming and going through the unit, and I was working around the clock, and my unit let me know that I was being fast-tracked to Airborne school, and I showed up to Airborne school like a ton of bricks, and as soon as we started jumping out of airplanes, I hit the ground like a ton of bricks, and I tore up my ankle and my shoulder so bad that I needed to come home first of all, and needed surgery and many months of physical therapy just to get back to being able to work out again. Because both my leg and my shoulder were messed up, I couldn't do cardio or lift weights, and because I was stationed on a small installation there in Italy, we had 3,000 paratroopers just home from combat, all fighting to get patched up at the same small clinic, so I was on a waiting list for months just to even get an MRI done, and so I had to move to a larger installation in Germany just to finally get that surgery and begin the road to recovery. So all in all, I went about a full year without doing any kind of cardio or lifting weights. That's how bad my injuries were. And so after getting surgery, I had to lose weight really quickly and get ready to go on my second deployment. But I didn't do it alone that first time. I ran a Biggest Loser competition, and with my support group lost collectively hundreds of pounds, much to the satisfaction of my commanding general. But I didn't capture those lessons learned to be able to share it with future groups and individuals, and I regretted that at the time. In addition to looking and feeling much healthier, one of the greatest rewards of losing weight and getting in shape back then was being able to pursue my physical hobbies again. Specifically, I was finally able to take my passion for self-defense to the next level. If I don't make it, I leave everything to Lucy.
Oh, okay. Wow.
At least Lucy's covered.
Dun, 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 dun.
No way. What? Someone hold this.
He's good.
Please.
Nope, not over.
Judo. That's U.S. Special Forces there at its finest. Doing Army Combatives Level 1 and 2, earning my blue belt with a buddy in the Air Force who served as a bodyguard for 4-star generals, competing in several combatives competitions, even placing second in my first one, and then progressing to the most rewarding part of my newfound freedom, which was teaching practical self-defense to others. During Stage 2 of the change model we'll soon be discussing, be sure to put together a good bucket list of things you plan to do with your healthier, stronger body once you get to Stages 4 and 5. More on that soon. Oh yeah. And eventually I did go back to Airborne school, that time in excellent shape. First time going all 5 jumps. That's my dad, the fellow Army veteran, pinning my wings at graduation. Now, fast forward 5 years to the second and last time that my weight got out of control. And that was the time that I was just coming home from Ranger School. Now, unlike Airborne School where I had physical injuries, this time my injuries were, brace yourself, more mental and emotional. That's because I had already done 4 weeks of training and I was exhausted, and that was after I had went down and met the Chief of Staff of the 75th Ranger Regiment, interviewed and had gotten hired, actually shook hands and had a position in the Ranger Regiment. Now, had I graduated from Ranger School, I absolutely would have become an Army Ranger, would have got my tan beret, and would have achieved my ultimate military dream career of serving in the Ranger Regiment and everything that came along with that, and the career progression that would have certainly been pretty esteemed following that very, very prestigious assignment. So when I had to walk away from Ranger School and walk away from that Ranger Regiment dream, it was really devastating. It crushed me. But I had to make a decision while I was there about what my true north was really ultimately going to be and lead me toward. Now, I recycled during what was called Best Ranger Competition, which would have doubled my time in holdover status automatically to 2 months. Now, add the rest of training that I would have had to complete, which was 2 months, and that would have been 4 months. Had I recycled again, I could have been there for up to 6 months or maybe even more, as some people have experienced in the past. Now, had all of that have transpired, I would have, for sure, it was already, I believe, April or May timeframe, I would have missed my eldest daughter's graduation from high school and transitioned to college. Now, that's the same daughter who was in that stroller when I was a teen parent and the one whose name is tattooed across my chest. So missing her graduation and transition to college would have really been a devastating situation as well. But I also had significant demands being placed upon me relating to my extended family back in California that I also needed to tend to, and I wanted to be there for that as well. So I had to make the difficult decision once and for all as to what my ultimate true north was. Was it to be the best soldier that I could possibly be, i.e. be an Army Ranger, even if at the expense of my family, or was my true north to be the best husband, father, and son that I can be, even if at the expense of my military dream career? So the way I looked at this situation was, there was no shortage of outstanding soldiers and officers fighting to get into Ranger School and the Ranger Regiment. So in other words, I was highly expendable in that field. I had gotten a shot over many other people who I'm sure were just as, if not more, deserving. I was just right place, right time. But I also had to contend with the fact that there was only one person who could fill those other positions of husband, father, son, and to the best and highest standard possible for all those stakeholders who were depending on me in those roles. And so for me, it was a no-brainer. I absolutely had to follow my true north of putting those other jobs that only I was qualified to do and to do the best possible. And so I walked away from my Ranger dream forever. And when I got home to my unit, I was feeling very sorry for myself, as demands at work were at an all-time high, as well as demands with family. And although I was very happy and proud to be answering the mail for all those demands, finally the fatigue and failure just set in, and I started to self-medicate with overeating, overdrinking, overworking, and skipping the gym, creating the illusion of more time by not taking care of myself. And so remember that 50 pounds that I had lost, what was it, 5 years prior after coming over from Airborne school and getting injured? Well, I found it, and I found it fast, and I didn't even know I was looking for it. This time, however, I was not going to let the cleanup job, i.e. the weight loss transformation, happen in vain or in a vacuum. I vowed to turn it into something positive. I was going to document the entire process of losing that weight this time, so that I could share it with people, other people who needed that knowledge and inspiration, and just take that negativity and turn it into something positive. And thus you have the 25-week program that I've carefully crafted and curated for you, if any of that sounds familiar. Whatever your weight gain journey might be, the weight loss journey is going to apply to you. And as I keep saying and will continue to say, it's going to apply to any other change goals that you have in your life. Now, the last thing I'll share with you on this subject before moving on is that I keep this simple printed photo posted above wherever I am working on my book series for when it gets so hard that I want to quit. So hard that I want to quit with every fiber of my being. And I remember that I have touched this sign 2 times with my bare hands. This sign is made of wood, and it's hanging from this rope that is atop the water confidence course there at Ranger School. And after crawling across this rope and touching the Ranger sign, after giving permission from the Ranger instructor, you plunge into a freezing cold lake and then have to swim to shore in full uniform without getting hypothermia or drowning or both. Now, the first time I completed this obstacle course, I was a brand new second lieutenant in the infantry, just 23 years old. But unlike my peers who were almost all single and fresh out of college, I was married with 2 young children and 1 more on the way. After 4 weeks of training, when I failed to progress to mountain phase, had I stayed to repeat the course, I could have easily put my wife and unborn child's health at risk or miss the birth altogether. I decided to go home in defeat, but I vowed to return. That day wouldn't come for more than a dozen years. By that time, I was a senior major and no longer serving in the infantry. I was an airborne administrator now, a human resources officer specifically, which served in all units across the Army, including Ranger Regiment. Therefore, I worked hard to get my second shot at both Ranger School and the regiment, and I took it. And so I remind myself that I've touched this sign 2 times, and that for everyone who has done the same, we all understand that you come home with only one of 2 things, a tab or a story. And since you don't see a tab anywhere but on this piece of paper, I figure my debt is a pretty darn good story. And the name of that story is The Path of True North: How the Pursuit of Our Full Potential Leads to a Life of Great Purpose and Abundance. Now, there's other great inspirational stories out there, but mine is different. Unlike David Goggins, for example, who's a great American and a fine veteran who has his Ranger tab and his Trident, which are great accomplishments. My great accomplishment is that I did not finish every high-speed school that I went to, and that is because, I'm just as proud to say, my True North path led elsewhere. Now, with respect to the body transformation that you might be considering, should you find yourself in need of one, just remember that anybody can accomplish one, regardless of your age, race, gender, culture, nationality, career field, etc. And if I can do it, you can do it. Now, why do I say that? Because of the demographic that I represent. Right now online, studies you can find will all tell you in unison that the most overweight and obese demographic in America is the Hispanic population. Now for females, it's African Americans closely followed by Hispanics, but for males, it's absolutely Mexican Americans because we comprise the super majority of Hispanics at almost 60% of that group. And so I represent before you the most overweight and obese group in America. Woohoo, we're number one. And so if I can do it, you can do it. Now, it's worth saying that I find these assertions that Mexican Americans are the most overweight and obese group in America to be absurd, insulting, and baseless because, for example, when have you ever seen an obese or overweight Mexican American? I don't know. I mean, what are we, unicorn hunting here? But, you know, so good luck finding one of those. But if you do, or you don't, I think they stand behind these statistics because in the country of Mexico itself, other studies have shown that 30% of the population is obese and there 70% of the population is overweight. Now, some people point to genetics, others point to cultures, others point to cuisine, but I still think that at best all these suspects being guilty of the true cause of these statistics is dubious at best. Now, let's start with the first one, genetics. Here's a photograph of my great-grandparents who migrated to the US from Mexico in the early 1900s, and look at them. They're shredded. They're contest ready. They have no off season. So look, the only gene that I know I got from them for sure is the Mexican mustache gene, which again is a stereotype that I find to be completely unfounded. I don't know where they get these things from. Let's look at the second thing. Cuisine. Sure. Mexican food is amazing, right? Who doesn't love their tacos, enchiladas, quesadillas, spicy nacho Doritos, etc., right? And with respect to culture, now I don't know about you, if you're Mexican American or another culture that has a similar tradition, one of the ways that caretakers show love and nurturing is measured by how big the portions of this delicious food are, or the food of your culture's cuisine, how big those portions are and how often they're put in front of you. So that's a representation of how much people love and care about you, right? And you, as the recipient of this food, are supposed to reciprocate by eating as much of this food as possible, preferably all of it, to show somebody that you appreciate the love and nurturing that they have provided you through these 4,000 or 5,000 calorie feasts, right? And so I still find that all of these three suspects are a little bit of a waste of time. The jury's still out on what is truly responsible for these statistics. So as we wait for definitive scientific evidence to confirm beyond the shadow of a doubt who or what's to blame for these statistics, I think that the most constructive culprits to target and tackle are knowledge, know-how, behavior, and personal responsibility for anybody who wants to defy statistics and achieve the body of their dreams. Congratulations on making it this far in the video. Here's what's in store for the rest of this episode. I'm going to cover the 5 stages of change, explain and show you what a week 0 is, and then I'm going to show you week 1 of 25 so you'll know what to expect for the rest of this series and be able to get the most out of it. Alright, so the 5 stages of change. I'll start by restating what they are. Stage 1, pre-contemplation. Stage 2, contemplation. Stage 3, preparation and planning. Stage 4, action. And stage 5, maintenance. Now, stage 1, pre-contemplation, is when you don't know you have a problem or need to change. That's due either to denial or ignorance. Either way, you are not yet aware of any reason to change. Stage 2, contemplation. This means that you are now aware that you have a problem or a need to change, whether by doing a good, honest self-assessment or by something or someone else bringing this need for change to your attention. During this stage, you must decide if you want to change or if you want things to stay the same for whatever reason. Either way, denial or blissful ignorance are things of the past. Now you know you have a problem. By the way, welcome to stage 2. Stage 3 is preparation and planning. We progress to this stage only if and after we've committed to making a change and we've decided on a destination or at least a direction that we want to go in. Here's where we gather the knowledge, tools, resources, and support we're going to need to close the gap between where we are and where we've decided we want to be. Most people fail to achieve change because they did not conduct or complete either stage 2 or stage 3, or worse, both. They jumped right into action, not knowing where they wanted to go or why, lacking the proper map and tools necessary for a successful and worthwhile journey. Stage 4 is action. Action means executing the plan from stage 3 to achieve the vision you created during contemplation. After you've completed 6 successful consecutive months of stage 4 action, you can advance to stage 5, which is maintenance. Alright, it's not a coincidence that this project happens to be 25 weeks, which is roughly the equivalent of 6 months. Maintenance can last a lifetime, but if ever you regress during maintenance or even during action, all you have to do is go back to the very beginning through either pre-contemplation, contemplation, or preparation or planning, wherever something went wrong, and identify how or why it was that you fell off your program or stagnated, and then just implement those lessons learned as you redo preparation and planning so that you can implement those lessons learned during a new 6-month period of action in order to get back into the maintenance stage. So the good news and bad news is if you fall off the program in either action or maintenance, all you got to do is go back and figure out what you did. Bad news is you have to have 6 consecutive months. It's not cumulative, so you can't just, if you have a month here, a month there, unfortunately you cannot claim victory and success on change unless that 6-month period is consecutive. So if anything goes wrong in action or maintenance, you got to go back to wherever something went wrong. You have to go through preparation and planning again. You got to restart the clock on action in order to claim victory. Just remember that. Now, maintenance is not just about regression or stagnation. Now, in my case, for example, after the 25 weeks was complete, I became so accustomed to the program that I stayed on it until taking my goal to the next level of actually being in a physique contest where I got on stage and was judged by actual judges standing next to guys who were in incredible shape. Now, even though I didn't place, I still felt like I belonged on stage, and I was able to just celebrate and showcase my results and everything that went into this program. Maintenance can also be when you right size your goals, when you adjust them based on how you have changed since going into the action or maintenance phase, as long as it is a deliberate decision that's in the spirit of your initial goal. Happy New Year, it's 2024, just checking in, letting you guys know that I'm maintaining my results. After 6 months of action, I went into the maintenance phase, and I put on a little bit of mass for fun, but that was a very deliberate decision that I made, an adjustment to my goals once I got to cruising altitude. And don't worry about that being locked into certain results forever. Once you get your initial goals accomplished, you can make an adjustment, and life's all about new adventures, as long as it's a deliberate choice, a deliberate healthy choice that's still in the spirit of your initial goals, and you went through all 5 stages to make sure that that's exactly what you want, especially contemplation, and that's where your preparation and planning led you to. You got 6 months of that completed, and now you're in maintenance. That's all it takes. Now you just enjoy cruising altitude. You can divert your course, you can go anywhere you want from there. Life's all about new adventures, like I said. So I'm maintaining my results, and I just wanted to wish you the best and say keep going, stay motivated, don't get discouraged. If you have a slow week, if you have a setback, don't worry about it. It's only going to make you stronger. As long as you reflect on it and you get back out there, implement the lessons learned, you will succeed. Don't quit. All right, you're going to get here. You're going to get to maintenance right with me. All right, we're going to be like Maverick and Goose up there. All right, flying at cruising altitude. Now, what is a week 0? Well, let's use the Army for example to study the concept of week 0. Prior to an important exercise, operation, or campaign, we actually carve time out of the calendar prior to the start of the execution of these important events to ensure that we've done the training, resourcing, planning, preparation, and coordination, just to ensure that we're ready to hit the ground running on day 1 of week 1. Now, it doesn't have to be a full 7-day period. It could be 1, 2, 3 days, or maybe even longer. Just however long it takes for you to be prepared to hit the ground running on day 1 of week 1. Now, one thing that's important to remember is, as we say in the Army, no plan survives first contact, but that doesn't mean that you don't have a plan before going into execution. Even though no plan survives first contact, not planning is planning to fail. I'll say that again. Not having a plan is planning to fail. When you do plan as best you can, when that adversity is thrown at you, as soon as you survive that first barrage and your plan is validated, all you have to do is go back to it and make the proper adjustments in order to counterattack and seize victory when it comes to execution. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. Now we're finally going to actually watch the full week 0 video. So after we do, I'll meet you right back here and we'll introduce and get into week 1. So as you can probably tell from my appearance, this is day 1 of week 0. I'm just getting started. Now, the first thing I want to do is get my initial start points loaded up on the board, so I'm going to jump on the scale. And I'm going to get a video of it so you can see what I'm seeing. So my official start weight is exactly 240 pounds. Now I'm going to start to experience significant weight loss every week, especially at the beginning of this program. What I want to do is make sure that that weight loss is coming from the loss of fat and not from the loss of muscle. So to track that more accurately, what I'm going to do every week is also measure my waist and my arms. So on my waist, right now it's exactly 44 inches. And my arms, starting with the left, 17 and a half. And on the right, 17 and a half. Okay, so as you can see, I've got all of my goals and start points at the top of the board. To cover them quickly, I'm currently a fat 240 pounds. I need to get under 200 pounds. I need to be at 198, which is going to be a loss of 42 pounds. My waist is 44 inches. I want to take 10 off of that and get it down to no more than 34. My arms are a decent size at 17 and a half inches, but a lot of that's fat, and I want to get them down to a lean, symmetrical 17. Today is 2 January, and I expect to get this done by July, which is roughly 25 weeks from now. So, to recap, that's 42 pounds and 10 inches off my waist that I intend to lose in 6 months. I'm going to get it done, I'm going to show you how you can do it, and then I'm going to give you the tools to do it on your own, and that's going to be 100% free. Now, the rest of this board is going to stay blank for the rest of this week. I have, however, plugged in my goals that I expect to hit every day in the form of a daily average. So I'm going to record everything I eat, I'm going to record all of my exercise routine and workout program, and then I'm going to plug these numbers in. If I hit my goal, I'll record that in blue. If I fail to achieve my goals, it'll be recorded in red, and that'll show me where I need to tighten up. Then we'll look at how all those numbers translated into success for the first week, and then I'll know how I need to adjust going into the following week. Now I know that's a lot to take in right now, but I guarantee you at the end of this week, when I have real numbers plugged in there, it'll make a whole lot more sense. Now if you've decided that you want to start your own week 0, what you need is minimal. All you need is a scale, whether it's in pounds or kilos, as long as how you weigh yourself is consistent, a measuring tape that you can get at any grocery store like the one behind me, a place to record your data, which can be just pen or paper or the PDF printouts from my website, and of course a free subscription to this YouTube channel. So please make sure you subscribe so that you can be informed when all the subsequent videos for each week of this transformation project come out. And one thing I pledge to you is I will never put any of this behind a paywall or try to sell or enroll you in a course. Everything related to fitness and weight loss, once again, will always be free and posted there for you to do with it as you wish to assist you on your program. So you don't need anything fancy to get started. You don't need to make this board. This board is expensive and takes a lot of time and patience to make. You don't need it. I only did it for briefing purposes. But however you do decide to maintain your data, and when I say data, I'm talking about your daily averages, your workout journal, and your weight and measurements each week. When you record that stuff, even if it's on paper, take a digital photo of it, email it to yourself, or save it on a hard drive that you know you're going to have forever. Email is preferable. So that way, if ever you need to come back to it and repeat the process, you'll have your best weeks to model yourself after as time goes on. Trust me, all of these sheets that you're going to create or wherever you're documenting them are going to become more valuable with time, because you can always have them as a sort of break the glass plan if ever you need to lose weight or were to regress. Let's say you got injured or just fell off the program in general, you can always go back to your very best weeks and just duplicate those, and you should be able to get those same results because they've been validated and really calibrated to your body. So that's all you need to get ready for week 0. And now we're finally ready to watch week 1, so you can get a feel for what types of insights you're going to get during each week. And I recommend that you watch each week before going into that week yourself. So for example, if you're going into week 5 next week, watch week 5 on the last day of your week 4, so you know and can anticipate what type of adversity or successes you can expect to achieve during those weeks specifically. Just watch them before you go into them so you're as well armed as possible as you progress through the series. That's why I intentionally shot this in advance, to ensure that every week was successful for you so that you're getting the best validated results before you go into that week. So here we go. You've seen week 0. Now let's check out week 1. I'll meet you right back here so we can wrap things up. So here we are 7 days later, and I've already lost 2 pounds and ½ an inch off my waist. Now let me explain everything on this board so you can follow along with me all the way out to week 25 and my final results. So underneath my goals and start points is a weekly roll-up. In the left-hand corner is the date of that weigh-in that marks the end of a week. With the remaining goal, that's me revisiting every single week what my initial goal was, which was to lose 42 pounds and 10 inches off my waist. I'm gonna take my progress for the week, subtract that, and record in red how many more pounds and inches I need to lose to get to my ultimate goal. I'm also gonna weigh in and get my measurements of my waist and arms so I know exactly where I'm at going into the following week. The total loss is the accumulation of all the weight that I've lost up until the date of that weigh-in, so you have a quick reference to see exactly how much I've lost during any point of this program. If it's recorded in blue, that's because it shows a weight loss and that I'm moving closer to my goal. And if it's recorded in red, that just indicates that that's still not where I want to be, and that's the distance that I want to close to get to my goal. Now, the daily averages are very important. That's where I'm really going to make my money. So I'm going to cover each one of these categories and explain it in detail. As you probably already know, when you eat 3,500 calories beyond your resting metabolism or your basal metabolic rate, you're going to accumulate a pound of fat. So you're going to have to burn an additional 3,500 calories to get rid of every single pound of fat that you have. In order to do that equation every single day, you're going to have to know what that basal metabolic rate is. For me, it's 2,000 calories. I went online, I plugged in all my numbers, and I got a pretty accurate estimation of what that is. So that is what I recommend that you choose as your calorie goal every single day. Now, a good way to understand how a calorie works in relation to losing a pound of fat and using that as a guide for the decisions that you make every day, I recommend that you start with looking at your calorie intake as you would money. So let's look at your basal metabolic rate as your paycheck. If you got paid 2,000 calories a day, you've got to live just on that 2,000 calorie budget with the food you eat. If you eat over that 2,000, you're gonna go into debt. If you eat under that 2,000, you're gonna save money or calories, and that's a good thing. So by staying under your budget every single day and burning additional calories, you're going to be able to accumulate a deficit that's going to go towards paying down all that excess debt. Calories. That's how many calories I want to take in on a daily basis without exceeding that under any circumstances. So for the first week, I did really good. I was very disciplined. I had a good nutritious diet that I was able to stretch out throughout the day so I could stick to it, stay motivated while not being hungry. So my average take home for the first week was 1,700, so I recorded that in blue. Protein. I want to continue to build and maintain muscle throughout this program. I'm going to be lifting weights, and therefore I'm going to need to take in at least 100 or more grams of protein. 135 was a little bit too high. I fell short of that and only ate on average 79 a day, so I had to record that in red. Now that goal of 135 is a little high, so next week I'm going to decrease that goal down to 100 grams, and that should still help me build muscle while not going too high on my calories. My plan for calorie burning is to go to the gym at least 5 days out of the week and burn at least 500 calories every day. This week, I didn't get to the gym as often as I wanted to, so on average, I burned about 243 calories a day. Now, the net calories are how many calories I burned from how many calories that I ate, and that's gonna show me what my actual net take-home calories were for the day. So my goal is to net not more than 1,500 every day, and this week, I actually took home 1,461, which is below that goal, so I recorded it in blue. Now, my net calories from my daily intake goal is going to give me my estimated daily deficit. That equaled a total daily deficit of 539 calories that I'm able to put towards burning all this excess fat that I have. And if you want to look at the total number of excess calories that I'm walking around with, it's a simple equation. 3,500 calories over your basal metabolic rate is an accumulation of 1 pound of fat. So 42 pounds times 3,500 calories means that I'm in debt 147,000 calories. So that's why the way the body works, based on decisions that you've made, is a great metaphor and exercise for examining how transformation works, not only in the body, but with respect to any decision that you make. If you live outside your means, if you operate outside your capacity, you are going to accumulate negative consequences. So with respect to eating, when your basal metabolic rate, that is your resting metabolism, the number of calories that you can take in and not have to do additional exercise, is whatever it is. You go beyond that, you're going to start to accumulate debt in the form of fat. That's going to grow and grow out into the multiple hundreds of thousands, and then you're going to have to diet, come under your basal metabolic rate, and then get yourself a part-time job at the gym to burn additional calories to create enough savings every single day to start paying down that debt. So looking at calories as you do money is a great metaphor and way to take it seriously and understand that losing weight is nothing more than a math equation that's 100% within your control. And if the math is turning you off, then that's a really good indicator as to why you probably haven't accomplished your weight loss goals. If you don't believe me, I challenge you to watch the rest of these weeks, and you're going to see how these numbers will not fail and how you can apply this type of system to achieving any goal that you set for yourself. So to recap, using this equation and looking at the numbers like money, I was able to save up $3,771 to pay towards my debt of 147,000 calories that you see here accumulated in the form of fat. So I don't see any reason to significantly adjust my plan other than decreasing my protein. I'm going to hold what I've got and take the same plan going into week 2. So that's a week in review. And those are all the basics that I needed to cover so that you'll be ready to get the most out of all the videos that are coming out here. I also ask that you please share this video with somebody who you think might appreciate it, and don't worry about offending them. Just be supportive, be tactful, and be respectful. Everyone's got to advance to stage 2 contemplation at one point or another, and if it's by you, then they could very well be thanking you 6 months from now, and maybe you guys can even support each other as you progress forward in your own transformation goals. And remember, you don't need a gym membership to start your own transformation project. All you need to do is track your numbers and record them and stay committed to the plan that you outline for yourself, and go online to check to see how many calories you're burning doing the activities that are available to you, such as jumping jacks, calisthenics, running around the block, doing push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups. All of these ways to burn calories can be entered into many different websites for you to get a good accurate estimate of how many calories you're burning, and you can record that against the same numbers that you were calculating through a lot of these great websites that will show you the calories in the food that you're eating. It's just all going to come down to, like I said, that math equation where you are calibrating what your numbers are and then consistently sticking to them. If you do get a gym membership and you are interested in my workout split, specifically the one that I have at the bottom of my board, let me know in the comments section if you'd like me to post videos about my workout routine specifically, and I can walk you through each day on my workout split on the board, and at least you'll know what worked for me when I got on stage during the physique contest. Now, I'm not saying that these are the best back workouts or the best chest workouts. These are the most convenient and the easiest ones that work for me, that allowed me to complete them within 30-minute increments when necessary, when I was working full-time and balancing family, school, and many other demands. I was not at the gym for very long on any of these occasions, even training for my physique contest. Honestly, I was leaving work in some cases. I was in Korea at the time, getting ready to go to North Korea at the drop of a hat. And there were many times where I was not even leaving the office until 9:30 at night, getting to the gym at 9:35 and out of there by 10 on the dot. That was my usual workout routine prior to the physique contest. So if you'd like to see what that workout split looks like on how you can get into at least the type of shape that I was in doing minimal amounts of time in the gym, let me know. I'll post videos on that. If not, stick to what works for you. It's all going to come down to the numbers, and that's the whole really thing that I'm trying to convey throughout this program, is that it really all comes down to the math of consistency and discipline. And discipline comes from just doing it over and over until it becomes muscle memory, whether you want to or not. And discipline comes from just doing it over and over until it becomes muscle memory, whether you want to or not. And remember, you don't have to do it alone. This is an opportunity and an invitation to build a community of people who have a shared goal and vision of achieving the best version of themselves inside and out. So when you subscribe, please consider leaving a comment below letting me know what your transformation goals are, so I can welcome you and congratulate you on getting started, as well as answer any additional questions that you might have. Good luck and Godspeed on your transformation and True North journey. I'll see you again soon.